For this project, we are going to use a number 4 yarn. I happen to be using Heartland from Lion Brand, and it's got a little tiny bit of a sheen, which is perfect because that adds a little more depth and definition to the stitches. And it's almost like a heather, where it's got different colors running through it, but very subtle. The color is Indiana Dunes if you want to get the exact same yarn. We'll also need some scissors, a yarn needle. The hook I'm using is an H or a 5mm. You'll need a measuring tape. This crochet tunic or a crochet pullover is designed to be nice and wide for extra comfort. It's easily customizable if you don't want it this wide, or it's customizable for length, however long or short you want it. It's a very easy project, definitely doable for beginners. Since a lot of people don't like turtlenecks, although it is, the main feature of this design, you can opt for a mock turtleneck that does not fold over, so it's not so thick. You can decide how high up you want it to go, and I hope that you decide to go ahead and give this one a try. Let's get started. Now I'm working for the size small medium, and we will start with the bottom ribbing, work 12 chains, and then in the second chain from the hook, work a single crochet and then a single crochet in each chain across for 11 single crochets. Then you chain 1 and turn. Now we'll be working with back loop only single crochets for the remainder of the ribbing. Working in the back loop is what creates the ribbing. So in the very first single crochet, insert the hook into the center, work your single crochet. So as you can see at the top, you've got the chains forming. So you're inserting the hook into the center so that you're working in the back loop. Single crochet all the way across for 11 back loop only single crochets. So make sure you're counting your chains, your stitches, so that you don't miss that last one. That's 11, chain 1, turn, and then repeat that. So again, there's your chains at the top, work your back loop onlys. Before we continue, just a couple of housekeeping items. The detail that I don't include at this point in the video will be in the description box below the video. Okay, so you do have to open that up so you can get more information down there, such as how much yarn I've used, where you can buy comparable yarn. Now, we would have worked for the small medium for 88 rows. And it's easy to count because each bumpy row will count as 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay? And we will end up on row 88. And that takes us to the wrong side of the work. So we're going to start the first row of the body on the long edge, and we're working that on the wrong side. We know it's the wrong side, excuse me, because there is the tail from the foundation row. So if you turn it that way, there's the tail, there's the right side. So row 88 has us on the wrong side. So now we're going to do one row along the edge of regular single crochets. So at the end of row 88, chain 1, just turn this slightly so it's facing you. And now in each row, you're going to work a single crochet so that you end up with 88 single crochets for 88 rows. Okay, so start right here on the first one, regular single crochet, and then the next row it gets a little bit tricky. You will find your rhythm here. And then the next row, and then the next one is the bumpy one, and then the flatter one. Okay, so then just do that one single crochet all along until you get to the end. Now at the end of that single crochet row, chain one and turn. Now we're going to get to the fun part. We're going to work with extended single crochet, which is one of my favorite stitches. So here, this is the extended single crochets. So there, it's not too tight of a stitch, and it's a very, very simple stitch for beginners also. Okay, so let's get started. We're working a regular single crochet, not back loop only, just regular. So start into the first stitch as for a single crochet, 2 loops on the hook, pull through 1 loop, pull through 2 loops. And that is your extended single crochet. Easy, easy, easy. Okay, 2 loops on the hook, pull through 1, pull through 2. And you do that all the way across. Pull through 1, pull through 2. Okay, all the way to the end. When you get to the end, then you will chain 1, turn, and repeat. You would have worked the panel, and you are making 2. One for the front, one for the back, identical. So when you are finished working the body, you will have worked for 18 inches. Again, that's for small, medium. That's just the body. After you have completed both panels, we're going to seam the shoulder and the sides. So you want the panels, right sides touching each other, wrong sides are out, and we will start with the shoulder seam. And we're going to attach the yarn, which we're using with the yarn needle, into the corner. And then you're working under 2 chains. As you can see the chains at the top again. 2 strands on each chain, on each panel. And this is a whip stitch where you're going around and around. So from front to back, back to front, whatever works for you. And just continue this all the way till you get to your stitch marker for the neck opening. And do the other side. And then what you will do is the side seam. So attach, using the same method, attach the yarn and the ribbing at the bottom, and work your way up to the stitch marker for the armhole opening. And we do want a nice wide opening here. For the turtleneck, we are going to work it exactly the same way as we did for the bottom ribbing, except we start with a chain of 36, and then we work for back loop only single crochets for 35 stitches on each row, 35. And we work for 100 rows. That sounds like a lot, but it's just a short little panel. And then we will attach it going this way so that it folds like that. Now to attach the turtleneck to the neckline, there's the opening. This is wrong side out. So you take your panel, and it doesn't really matter what's the right side or the wrong side. They both look pretty much the same, both sides. So you take the corner and you're going to seam it the same as we've been seaming with a whip stitch. just like that, and then seam all the way around. When you get over here, you will continue with the back side, seaming around like that. Now you might have to stretch the panel just a little bit as you're going along, just to make sure that you get all the way around back to where you started. And then, when it's all attached, you will seam this side to close it up. After you're done with the turtleneck, we are going to finish this off with a border around the armhole with the right side facing you this time. Here's the armhole. Attach the yarn at the bottom of the opening. Do a chain 1. And then we're going to do a single crochet in approximately every space. So just do this all the way around. When you get back to where you started, join with a slip stitch at the beginning, at the first stitch, chain 1, and then we're going to turn the whole garment around. There we go. And now we're going to work with back loop only single crochets all the way around, 1 in each stitch, 1 in each single crochet. You are working, especially for that first row, you would have worked with a fairly loose tension, otherwise the armhole will begin to buckle. And you don't want that. Okay, so now back loop only into each single crochet. We're working for a ribbed look again. When you get back to where you started, join with a slip stitch, chain 1, turn, and continue until you have a total of 7 rows. And that's it, and tie it off.